Hello everyone. So now in this lecture we will complete this topic, just a few left stuff. So starting with the benchmarking portfolio. Okay. Now understand the theme. What we are going to do here. We have a portfolio, and for that portfolio we will try to calculate the VAR. Okay. Clear? As well as we will be having the benchmark VAR. We will be having a benchmark VAR. Now we will try to find the difference between the VAR of my benchmark and the VAR of my portfolio, and the difference between the VAR of the portfolio and the benchmark is known as the tracking error VAR. Clear? This is what we need to calculate. But now see, the portfolio which we are constructing and the benchmark, they must have the same VAR, or we can say they must match the risk factor. VAR can be higher or lower, but yes, the risk factor must be same. Means if I am saying that my portfolio will be having the two risk factors such as the currency and the interest rate, then the benchmark which I am choosing, that also will be having the two risk factor, currency and interest rate. But yes, their VAR can be higher or lower. Clear? And the deviation of the VAR between the two portfolio is referred to as the tracking error VAR. Two portfolio means one is my portfolio and the other is the portfolio of benchmark, and the difference between the VAR of these two portfolio is known as the tracking error VAR. Clear? Now the risk factor which I am taking into account is the duration. Okay, means I am mapping, this is the portfolio of benchmark and this is my portfolio. Okay, so what I am choosing, I am choosing the duration, that the duration of the benchmark portfolio is 4.77, as well as the duration of my portfolio is also 4.77. What is the market value of the portfolio? It is $100 million. Clear? In my portfolio I will be having the two zero coupon bonds. Okay, their maturity can be anything, and the VAR which I will be calculating, I will be calculating at 95% confidence interval. Clear? Now understand this first table. This first table is giving us the weights, means the benchmark weights, and I am taking the 5 different portfolio A, B, C, D and E. But in my portfolio I will be having only 2 bonds. Okay, but in the benchmark there will be many bonds of different maturity. Means this is the weights of each maturity, and you can see that the highest weight is given to the 2-year bond maturity. So the sum of the weights is 100, or we can say that what is the amount invested out of $100 million. That is also the right way, because we have only 100, so it can be percentage as well, or it can be the weights as well. Clear? Means out of $100 million, 23.50 is invested in 2-year bond and 8 is invested in 5-year bond. So this is the benchmark. Now suppose I am taking the portfolio A, where I want to invest in the 4-year bond and 5-year bond. So in the 4-year bond I have invested 23%, and in the 5-year bond I have invested 77%, or $23 million and $77 million. There will be another portfolio, say the portfolio B, in which I have invested 55.75% in year 3 and 44.25 in year 5. Similarly in year 2 and year 7, in year 1 and year 9, similarly in 1 month and a 30 year. Means we have invested the huge amount in the 1 month bond and a small amount in the 30-year bond, and the end we have the total weights of equal to 100. Clear? So now we got that what is the percentage of amount that we should invest among the different maturities. Okay, through this we will get the idea of weights. Now on the basis of these weights we will try to calculate the duration of my portfolio. Now the duration of all the bonds in the benchmark is given, and the sum of the duration of my benchmark portfolio is 4.77. Now I have to match the duration of my benchmark with all my each of my 5 portfolios. Okay, and the weights of the portfolio we have already calculated. The weights are 23 and 77. Now based on the weights we have calculated the duration. means the duration of the 4-year bond and the duration of the 5-year bond, the sum of them will be equals to 4.7, means we are assigning the weights in such a way that the duration of the portfolio will be equal to the duration of the benchmark portfolio. So you can see that I have matched the duration of all my 5 portfolio with the duration of my benchmark. So now I can compare the VAR of the benchmark portfolio with the VAR of each of my 5 portfolios. Clear? Earlier we have seen the VAR percentage for only maturity of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, but now we have the VAR percentage for 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, 1 year and so on. So these are my VAR percentage, and now I am calculating the benchmark, means the VAR for each of the maturity, means what is the VAR for each maturity. Now how we have got this VAR. Now see what we used to do. We used to do amount, what is the amount invested, that will be multiplied with the VAR percentage to find out the VAR. Now what is the amount invested in the 3-year bond in the benchmark? If you will see in the benchmark, I have invested in 3-year bond is 17.50. okay, so let us see 17.50, that will be multiplied with 1.484%, and that is coming to 0.26. Clear what I am doing? 17.50 multiplied with 1.484. This is I am showing you for the 3-year maturity. Similarly, I have calculated the VAR for each maturity, and then at the end I have taken the total. Okay, so what is the total VAR of the benchmark? The total VAR of the benchmark is equals to 1.99. Clear? Now we need to find out the VAR for our portfolio. Similarly, how much amount invested in the 4-year bond is 23, and here we have 77. So 23 will be multiplied with 1.484% and 77 will be multiplied with 2.426%. So you will get the duration for both the maturity, you will get the VAR for both the maturity. So this is the VAR of the A portfolio. Similarly, you will be able to calculate the VAR for each of the 5 portfolio. Now to find out the tracking error, it's very simple, taking the difference between the benchmark and the portfolio, and you can see that this portfolio has the highest amount of VAR. But remember, the calculation of this tracking error is not so simple. We have to involve the vectors. Okay, so the calculation is not the part of our syllabus. So now what we have to see, that's important. Okay, this is our absolute VAR. Okay, if you will see that the absolute VAR is lowest, but still we have the highest amount of tracking error. Similarly, if you will see the portfolio C, it have the lowest amount of tracking error. Clear? So tracking error is showing us that how much your portfolio is deviating from the portfolio of benchmark based on the VAR. Clear? Now what is the reason that the tracking error of the portfolio C is so low? The reason is that the benchmark invested heavily in the second year. If you remember how much they have invested in the second year, that is 23%. Okay, 23%. And now when it comes to the portfolio C, they have also invested their 60% in the year 2. Means among all, the benchmark invested heavily in year 2, and in this case also the portfolio C invested heavily in year 2, means they both are resembling to each other. That's why we can say that the VAR of the portfolio is not showing the huge difference between the VAR of the benchmark. Clear? Now in regression we used to calculate R square, which shows us that the variables which we are using, how much they are explaining to us about the prospect value of Y. Similarly, here we are calculating the variance improvement. The variance improvement is coming maximum for the portfolio C and it will come minimum for the portfolio E. Clear? For portfolio E, it will be equals to approx 82.18%. Okay, means this portfolio is showing only 82%, but when it comes to portfolio C, it's showing us more than 99% in relation to what our benchmark is showing. Clear? Now we are into the last part of the chapter. Okay, so earlier we have seen that how we map our fixed income securities with the help of principal, with the help of durations, or with the help of cash flows. Now we will be working with the forwards, forward rate agreements, interest rate swaps and option. Quite complicated part because we don't have any kind of practical portion here, but still we need to find out the best way to complete this. Okay, so we are starting with the linear derivative, that is our forward contract. So in linear derivative we will do forward contracts, we will do forward rate agreements, and we will do interest rate swaps. Clear? Now when it comes to that how you will value or how you will map your forward contract, so first of all you need to understand that what is the current value of your forward contract. Means if you suppose I will give you an example. Suppose for the Reliance you have contracted like 2250, this is your contract amount. Now what is the value trading today? Suppose the value trading today is 2300. Okay, you are on the positive side, you are on the buy side, and you have contracted it for 2250, but now the price is trading at 2300. You need to find out what is the current value. So how you can find out? You can find out 2300 minus 2250 means what is your value today, what is the money you have in your hand. That is 50 rupees is your value, but this 50 rupees you will be getting after the end of the contract. So you need to take the present value and you need to find out that what is the current value of your forward contract. Means if today you will stop this contract, what is the amount you will be getting? You will be getting the present value of 50. Clear? Now we are supposed to calculate the diversified VaR for the forward contract, and that is used to purchase euros with US dollar 1 year from now. What does this really means? I am standing today here. Okay, this is the end of the year 1 and I am going to purchase euros with US dollar. Means I have USD in my hand, but at the end of the 1 year I will be having euros in my hand, but I don't want the price fluctuation, so I fixed it today. So you need to understand it properly. Now you have USD in your hand, that is, suppose I am giving you an example of, suppose you will be having 100 USD in your hand. Okay, and okay, rather than take the example given from the book itself, you have 126.5 USD in your hand, and at the end of the 1 year you will be getting 100 euros. Okay, you are fixing it, means you don't want that it will fluctuate, because if it will fluctuate, suppose, and in after 1 year you need 100 euros, but the rate of the euros increased and now you have to pay $132 to take 100 euros. So you don't want that such things will happen. You want to hedge your risk. Now to understand it easily, consider this particular as your assets and this particular as your liability. Clear? And what you always want, that the value of asset will rise and the value of liability will fall. The value of your asset, that is what you have in your hand now. I have in my hand is the dollars, that is my assets. So I want the value of my asset will increase and the value of my liability will decrease. Means what I am long on USD and short on euros. Now if I want to hedge myself, so in order to hedge myself I will be going against this, because what I am afraid of, I am afraid that USD will fall. Then what I will do, I will take the short position in USD. And in case of euros, what I am afraid of, I am afraid that euros will rise. So what I will do, I will take a long position in case of euros. Understanding what I am doing? This I am long on USD, I am short on euros, but I have the fear, I am highlighting the fear. This is my fear. Okay, now what is the solution of my fear? This is the solution of my fear. Clear? So now you can hedge yourself. There are three options. Now what are those three options? First of all, you take a short position in US treasury bills. Okay, I am short. What is the next option? A long position in 1 year euro bill. This is the another way that I can hedge myself. Next, I will take the long position in euro spot market. Means whatever there is a currency exchange going on, I will take the 1 year long position. I will take the 1 year long positions. Clear? You have to understand what you are afraid of. This is the position today and you are afraid of this. Means if today I will fix this deal, I have to give only $126.5 and I will get 100 pounds. But in case such things happen that my dollars depreciated and now I have to pay $135 to get $100, means I have a loss. So what I will do? I will be having a long position in the euros. Means if the value of the euro will increase, see, understand in this way. What is the value of 100 euros today? It is $126.5, and if the value of the euro will increase from $126.5 to $135, okay, so I will be having a loss. So what I will do? I will take a long position in the euros market. Means if the price of the euro will increase, if the price of the euros, you can see it increased, then from that contract I will be able to get the difference amount. Clear? So this is the point which I want to explain you. Always understand that whatever you have in your pocket is your asset, and whatever you are going to take in future, that will be your liability. So you always want your asset to increase and your liability to decrease. So let us understand this, and we don't have any kind of calculation available for this, and even in the exam we don't have any kind of calculation, but yes, these 3 points are necessary to understand that what they really means. Clear? Now this is our euro spot which is trading in the market, the current price, and this is our long euro bill, short USD bill, and this is our euro forward. Means at this rate we have done our forward contract. Clear? Now understand, this is the value in future, means after 1 year. If I will take the present value of this, from 1 year, then how much it will be equals to? It will be equal to 122.91. Clear? So now understand that we are long on the euros, and we are short on the USD. Clear? Now what is the cash flow in terms of euros? The cash flow is 100, and what is the cash flow in terms of USD? It is 126.5, and what is their present value? 122.911. The present value of both the contract are same today. The cash flow differ. Why the reason that the cash flow is differing? The reason is our exchange rate. The reason which is prevailing in the market is the exchange rate. Now what we have used? We have taken this our present factors to take the present value. Clear? Now what I am doing? I am taking this present value and multiplying this present value with the VAR percentage. Okay, so the VAR percentage which we have to use is, what is the VAR of the euro, and this is the VAR of the USD in terms of percentage. So now we got the VAR for both the long euro bill and the VAR for the short euro bill. Apart from that, we are trading in this euro spot market. Why? Because we have already a forward contract. So what is the percentage? It is 4.5381 approx. So taking the 4.83 percentage of this amount will be equals to the VAR of 5.57. So now we have our undiversified VAR, means we have not included the correlation between these three, but now when we will include the correlation, we will be able to get our diversified VAR. So we always know that there is always a difference between the undiversified VAR and the diversified VAR. Clear? So now just a small thing which I want to clear is that we are long on the euros and the short on the USD. One question can literally come from this section, because most of the students, they fail to understand that where we are long and where we are short. Clear? So first of all, I am assuming that you don't know that what is forward rate agreement, so it's better that I will explain you first of all that what is forward rate agreement. Okay, that is FRA. Suppose after 6 months, you will feel that interest rate will rise. Okay, if today is the interest rate of 4%, after 6 months, for the next 6 months, you will feel that the market interest rate will be 5.5%. Clear? So you are long on interest rate. But not today. After 6 months, for 6 months. Now suppose I entered into a contract with someone today. For 100 rupees. Okay, it is a contract for 100 rupees. Today the market rate is prevailing is 4%. Clear? For 6 months, but you will feel that after 6 months the market rate for the 6 month loan will be equivalent to 5.5%. Now let us understand it in a different manner. Today, if you want to borrow 100 rupees for 6 months, you have to give 4%. Okay, and you don't know if you want to borrow 100 rupees after 6 months from now, what will be the rate of interest. You don't know. Okay, so what you do, you enter into a contract between A and B. Okay, they entered into a contract and the name of the contract is FRA agreement. A said that let's enter into a 6 into 12 FRA. Now what is this 6 into 12? The first 6 months, okay, is the period of agreement, and the next 6 months, this is the first 6 months. So how we got this next 6 months? We have taken like 12 minus 6. So this is the period of our agreement and this is the period of our loan. Clear? Now let us take the other value, such as 3 into I say 8. Okay, so now there will be 3 months agreement and 5 months loan. Clear? Let us take another 2 into 5. So it will be 2 months agreement and 3 months loan. So this will be the agreement. Now let us take an example of 3 into 7. Clear? So how we can say about our agreement of 3 into 7? It will be 3 months of agreement and 4 months loan period. Clear? So you have decided that the loan which you will take is at 5%. Okay, this is the FRA rate, means this is the rate at which you will take the loan after 3 months for 4 months. Write down the statement if you want, because it's really important. What is the statement? This is 5% is the rate of the agreement in which you will take the loan after 3 months. You won't take the loan now. You will take the loan after 3 months for 4 months. And when you are doing so, you are long on the interest rate. Now suppose your agreement is of 5% and the interest rate prevailing on this day when your 3 months ended and the 4th month started, the interest rate is 7%. Now Mr. B will give you 100 rupees loan. Mr. B will give you 100 rupees loan at the rate of 5%, and you will invest these 100 rupees in the bank and you will earn 7%. So what is your clear cut benefit? Your clear cut benefit is 2%. But in the FRA agreement, we will not exchange the money. Rather, we will take the cash difference. Now, what is the cash difference? The cash difference is 2%. That is the 2% of notional value, that is 2 rupees. But this 2 rupees is available at this point. Now, understand, this is the period of 4 months. Okay, rather writing it 0 here and 4 months here. Now, what is the amount you will be getting at this point? You are getting at this point is 2 rupees. Okay, now you want to take the present value of 2 rupees at the rate of 7%, because the rate of interest prevailing in the market is 7%. Clear? So you will take 2 1.07. Is it correct? No, it's not correct. Why? Because the 7% is for the whole year. So first of all, you will take the per month value and then multiply it by 4. So that percentage will come for the period of 4 months, and then you will use to discount the 2. So you will get the money, discounted money of 2 now. Clear? So this is the whole idea about the FRA. Now the example given here, this is a FRA of 6 into 12, means 6-month agreement and 6-month loan. And what is my notional amount? My notional amount is $100 million. Means you are borrowing the money for 6 months and investing the whole proceeds for 360 days from now. Understand, this is the timeline, 0, 6 and I will say it's 12. Okay, full 1 year. You want 100 million here. Okay, you want to invest 100 million here. Now what you do, you will borrow 100 million here, because you don't want that, you don't know what will be the interest rate prevailing in the market at that point of time. So what you did, you have taken the 100 million here and invested the whole proceeds for 12 months. What is the rate prevailing in the market for 12 months? Okay, so the rates given is 4.5% is for 360 days and 4.1% is for 180 days. Means you have borrowed the money at 4% and you have invested the money at 4.5%. So we can say that for 180 days you have invested 100 rupees, and for 360 days, for 180 days you have borrowed 100 rupees, and for 360 days you have invested 100 rupees. So what will be your cash flow? This is the present value of our cash flow. What is the rate we have used to take the present value? The rate we have chosen is 4.1% to find out the present value of our cash flow. Clear? So this is the amount. Means you have to understand that you have taken a loan of 100. You have taken a loan of 100 at the rate of 4.1%. Okay, but how much amount you are going to invest for 12 months? The present value of this 100. The present value of this 100. Clear? That amount you are investing for 12 months. Suppose, let's take an example. You borrowed 100 for 6 months. Okay, at the rate of 10%. Okay, so what is the amount you will be investing? 95. You will be investing 95, because that 10% is for 6 months. Okay, 10%, but you have to calculate for 6 months. So for 6 months it will be 95, and this 95 you are investing for 12 months. Clear? So means whatever amount I have borrowed, 100 rupees, and that I am taking the present value of that, and that I am investing for 360 days, and then I am taking the VAR position for both. Means this VAR percentage is for 6 months, this VAR percentage is for 12 months. Taking into account the correlation matrix, and then multiplying. If we are taking only the present value and the VAR, we are getting the undiversified, and when we are including our correlation, we are getting the diversified VAR. Clear? No question expected from this section, but yes, you need to have the idea of what is our FRA and how we are treating but yes, we need to know if few values are given to us, how we can calculate our diversified VAR and undiversified VAR. Whatever will be the contract amount, we will take the present value of that, and that will be invested for the full year. VAR percentage will be given to us, that will be multiplied, and we can calculate our undiversified VAR. Diversified VAR will not come in your examination for the purpose of calculation. Clear? In the same way, we have the calculation of interest rate swap. Means there is no exchange of principal, but yes, there is, we will find out the difference of floating rate and the fixed rate. Clear? This part is little important. Till now we have used the delta normal VAR, that is for the linear relationship between the variables, but when it comes to the option, they exhibit the non-linear relationship between the movements of the value of the underlying instrument and the value of the options. Means if you'll see the movement of our Reliance Industry and the movement of the options of the Reliance Industry, they both exhibit the non-linear relationship. Okay, so we cannot use our delta normal VAR, but in some cases where the option may be expressed linearly, there we can use the delta normal method. Clear? But there is one problem, that it will not provide us the accurate estimate of the true VAR. Clear? But we all know that the delta of the option keeps on changing, that is the deltas are not constant, so that will really make our linear method inappropriate to calculate the VAR method. But yes, if I will be talking about the short period of time, say one day, in which the delta will not be as fluctuating as between the number of days, so if I will be talking about the short period of time, yes, we can use the delta normal VAR method where the calculation is more accurate. Clear? But this accuracy is completely dependent upon the parameters which we are taking into account. Clear? As the delta will increase with the underlying spot price, means if the prices of the Reliance are increasing, the price the value of the delta will also increase. Now understand that how we are calculating the VAR. This is using a simple formula. Okay, we are using the alpha. Alpha is based on our confidence interval of 95%. Clear? Then we are using the S, means what is the amount. Okay, that is $100. Then we are using the sigma, which is given as 0.25, and then root over T, means we are taking the value of just a 1 day. Clear? That is 1 by 252. So we are able to get the VAR. Clear? This means that our position of 100 will be decreased by 2.59 and it will come to 97.41. Clear? So here we have completed our chapter. Just remember, the chapter is not only stick to VAR mapping. There are many things we have studied in our chapter, starting with if we have seen that the fixed income portion, and then we come to our linear derivatives, and then at the end we have the non-linear derivative. Along with that, in the between we have benchmarking VAR as well. For fixed income we have calculated the VAR in 3 different way. Then for the linear we try to calculate the VAR for forwards, for forward data agreements, then interest rate swaps. In non-linear we try to know that what is the value of the VAR in the options. Then in the benchmarking we try to find out that what is the tracking VAR between, like the difference between our benchmark VAR and our portfolio VAR. So chapter is quite jumbled up. Okay, nothing is arranged properly, but yes, it's our duty to complete it well. So complete the chapter in such a scenario that it won't be confusing for you while you are binding up the chapter. Thank you.